Hi everybody, Robin here. I'm sitting next to my Christmas tree. It's not completely decorated, I just have the lights on it. This is my third time trying to film this video. The last time I just had snot dripping out of my nose and it was disgusting. So I cleaned myself up a little bit and here we go. I mentioned in the text of my Ipsy versus Birchbox that I've had some kind of hectic things going on, to say the least, in my life. Some people know this, some people don't. But if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I've mentioned my cats like a bazillion times. And most people know Pootie because she tends to make an appearance. Whoopi has made a few. If you want to know the difference, Pootie is the dark one. Whoopi was the silver and black cat. And I unfortunately had to say goodbye to him on Tuesday. He was 17 and a half years old, which is 87 in human years. So he was an old boy. He'd been sick for a while and I knew it was coming. I just, no matter how much you try and mentally prepare yourself for it, there's no preparation at all that you can do. And he'd been peeing on the floor outside the potty, which I just thought that was old age. Like, he was missing it, because he would go in and then just pee right out the door. And then a couple of times over the weekend, on Sunday, he just stood right in front of me and peed in the floor of the bathroom. So I knew something was up at that point. And I also discovered on Sunday that Pootie had been finishing his food, and it used to always be the other way around. And I knew he had been losing weight, but I knew that was also something that came with age. So Monday afternoon, I was gonna take him after work, and I couldn't handle it anymore. So one of our ADs just told me, "Go ahead, take him, leave, go take him. I'll tell our boss." And so I did, and I oh gosh, they ran, or I paid to have the emergency vet. They came back and told me he's dehydrated, and we're gonna run blood work on him. And so they ran blood work on him, and they thought for sure he was going into kidney failure, but he wasn't. All of his organs were functioning normally. He just had white and red blood cell counts were all whacked out. His white blood cell count was really elevated, and in the panel it broke down like the different types of white blood cells, and it was his first responders is what they called it. Blood cells that were really, really elevated, and his red blood cell counts were really low. And they said the white blood cell counts indicated that he was fighting off some kind of infection, and the red blood cell counts, they figured, was because of his being dehydrated. So because they thought he had an infection, they said, we want to keep him overnight and rehydrate him and give him full 3 rounds of antibiotics. So I agreed. And that the vet that I saw said, I'll be in at 2 tomorrow. So he called me at 2 and he said that Whoopi hadn't really been responding as well to everything as he had hoped. Even though when I had called Monday night and Tuesday morning, they said, "Oh yeah, he's been eating, he's been peeing, he's doing everything he needs to do. His vitals are good." He was. The vet said that he was not like completely satisfied with what had been happening, and so they had also discovered a mass in his chest when they examined him on Monday, and he said, I want to run another blood panel and I want to run an ultrasound on him because he said, he is thin enough that we can do the ultrasound versus an x-ray and we'll get more detail. So I said, okay, do whatever you need to do. And I said, I'll head over there when I get off work at 5. Well, he had called me at like 4:30 and I didn't get the phone call, so I called him back on the way there. And he said his red blood cell count hadn't dropped at all, which was weird because they expected it to drop more once he was hydrated. And, all of his organ functions were still okay. So he said that they found a bunch of tumors in his stomach and esophagus, and he had some tears in his esophagus, and his abdomen was filling with fluid. And he suspected it was the tears in his esophagus that was causing his abdomen to fill. They pulled some of the fluid out of his abdomen, and he said there was blood in it. He said it wasn't all blood, but it was pink tinted, and he said that's where his red blood cells are going. So he gave me the option of surgery or making him comfortable and then letting him come home and then having to go back in a couple days, or putting him to sleep. So I said, I don't want him to be in pain. And he said, well, he's not exhibiting any signs of pain right now. He's been golden through everything. So I called my mom, and I think in my mind I already knew what I was going to do, because I just needed someone to reaffirm my decision and tell me that I was making the right decision. And so she said, our Scotty that we had, that your grandparents took, she had the same thing, and they got the surgery for her, and she came home and started throwing up blood and had diarrhea, and they had to put her down 2 days later, and she was in excruciating pain for those 2 days. And that kind of sealed my decision for me. And so I got to the vet, and I was already in tears. I had called Heather after I talked to my mom, and I just needed to hear her voice and to have her tell me that you are doing what's right for him. And so I went in and I played with him for an hour, and it could have been longer. I don't know, but he covered my clothes in his fur, which he loved to do, and I let him explore the exam room because he was really like wanting to sniff everything, and we danced around. And my poor baby was down to 7 pounds. And I don't think he was 7 pounds since he was a kitten. He was a big cat. He was usually around 20. And I looked at him at one point and I said, "Baby, do you not want me to let you go?" And he put his paw on my mouth. And he just looked at me. And I knew he was ready. And I took a picture of him and sent it to my mom. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's not Whoopi. That can't be him." Because he was so skinny and his face was so drawn. And part of being dehydrated is his eyes were sinking in. And they were getting really goopy because the stuff gets trapped in their eyelids. And he was my baby. He was the first pet that I got after I graduated from college and moved out of my parents' house. And he was with me through everything. I'm sorry. And I knew it was coming because I used to check on him every morning and every day when I came home from work to make sure he was still breathing. Just because, he was old. He was 17 and a half. And I, I looked at him on Sunday. And it was not him. And before I took him to the vet on Monday, he was standing by the food dish and he just looked at me and I said, "Baby, you're supposed to live forever." And he just looked at me and he tilted his head to the side. And when the vet came in, after I had signed all the paperwork and everything, he was explaining the shots, and he had the shots laying on the table, and he had a little like IV thing in his leg from where they were giving him his medicine, and I was scratching his ears, and he was just, and he said, "Oh, he seems to really like that." And I said, "Yeah, he loves it." And I said, "And when you scratch his little armpits, and he can stretch his arms out." And so I did that, and he stretched his arms out. And then he laid the arm with, they called it the catheter, in it, right in front of the vet. It's like he was telling him he was ready. And I could not watch that third shot go in. I could not watch it. I just held on to him. And I was crying all over the top of his little head. And kissing his head. And telling him that I loved him. And the vet told me it would be fast, but I didn't realize how fast it was gonna be. And then I sat back for a minute and I was talking to the vet, and my poor baby was laying on the table. And his body just let out this big sigh. And the vet explained that that happens sometimes, that like whatever air is left in their lungs pushes out. And he wrapped him up like a little baby in the blanket and carried him out. And they brought the carrier back to me, and I walked out of the exam room completely covered in my cat's fur, just like all over the front of me. And everyone kept saying, "Oh, we're so sorry for your loss," and they offered to help me to my car, and I said no. And I called my mom, and my mom kept saying, "Why didn't you let me come down there? I would have come down there." And I said, "No, I needed to do this by myself. I needed to do it for him." And I don't like this being my new normal. I mean, I love Booty to death, don't get me wrong, but I miss hearing him snore. I miss him curling up and sleeping in my hair at night. Even though it got on my nerves, I miss it. I miss him coming up, like sitting next to me on the couch and putting his paw on my arm and looking at me. I miss cuddling with him. And I selfishly wanted him to live through Christmas because this was his favorite thing in the world. Was sleeping under the Christmas tree with the lights. And I wanted him to have one last Christmas. Oh, great amount of tissues. Oh no, I'm not. Okay. But I wanted him to have one last Christmas, and he didn't get it. So, washing all of his blankets and throwing away all of his little boxes that he loved to sleep in broke my heart. Because that meant he really wasn't coming home. And so I decided to put the tree up today. Because I figured wherever he is, he could see the lights. And I plugged in all of my lights and they didn't work. So I had to buy all new lights. So it really was like end of an era, I guess. So now it's just me and Pootie kicking it. She hasn't been acting like, I know she misses him because she looks for him every once in a while, but she hasn't been exhibiting signs of depression, which I'm very thankful for. And looking back on it, she had been extra cuddly with me when it was just her and me, and she was letting him have his way all the time, which it used to be like battle royale for who was going to sit in my lap on the couch, but she was letting him have his way. So I think she knew before I She's still been super cuddly. She's on me every time I sit down. And doesn't really let me out of her sight. So that is probably the hardest thing I've had to deal with in my adult life. Like, it is. It is because their life is in your hands. And I didn't want him to go through any pain. I didn't want him to get to the point where he was in pain. And his little body just couldn't take it anymore. And the vet told me that he suspected it was cancer, but there was, I didn't have the test run because there was no way he would have been able to survive any kind of surgery. And the vet said even if they did surgery, there was no guarantee it would work. So I had to do what was best for him, not what was best for me. So, my baby's gone. And, I'm having a really hard time adjusting to it, but I know every day it'll get a little bit better. And that doesn't mean I won't miss him. And that doesn't mean I'll ever stop loving him. But I know that he would want me to sit here and cry every single day because he hated when I cried. So, that's what's going on. And, I really don't know what else to say. So, thank you all for watching, and, I hope I didn't have too much snot running out of my nose. And, I'll see you soon. Bye.